Heated exchange at the White House caused shockwaves in Washington, the EU, and NATO. International press putting it on the front pages around the world. For more, we can speak to geopolitical analyst Christine Dugoin-Clément. She's a researcher at Paris-La Sorbonne University and the Center of Research at the French Gendarmerie. Hello to you. Just wondering, while you watched that exchange between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Volodymyr Zelensky, what did you make of it? What did you learn?
Basically, what we witnessed was something like kind of a trap. And it was pretty clear when it was said, like, hopefully the media were in the room and observing the thing. What they want was to push Zelensky and to force him on what they say the peace, which is not a peace, because basically, if ever Ukraine accepts all the Russian conditions that are at now pushed by Washington, it's like a capitulation, and it could be definitely very dangerous for European countries, not talking about Ukraine. So what we see was something like disrespectful and unfortunately expectable when we observed the last reaction of the new president of the United States and the links that he had with Russia for no decades. And if you're interested in that, I can recommend the reading of a book of Régis Janté, who explain what are the links in between and how Donald Trump have been walked by the different Russian services. So basically, there is like an admiration for the Russian power. They are also linked that make this moment predictable, even if very violent and not at the level of what we are expecting on the diplomacy standard, especially because you are showing J.D. Vance. Something have been said that is not real, that are really lies, that are when they say that there are no thanks about the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky. He said thank you at many times, because they know that they need the American help.
Yeah, Kyiv Independent had a video of 4 minutes of him thanking America for its support over and over, as you point out. I just want to clarify, at the top of your first response there, you said it was sort of like a trap what we saw at the White House. Do you think then that Trump and Vance went into that meeting planning to sort of have that argument with Zelensky?
Two options, and I am not in the secret of the gods, but the thing is, they want media to be there and to be present in here, and that's very interesting, because if you are looking at the media who were invited and those who weren't, you can observe that TASS were invited when other like more classical and mainstream media weren't. So this is an interesting thing, so to say. But basically, what they want was to push Ukraine to accept conditions that are known to be non-acceptable by Kyiv. So I don't know if it's like planning an argument, but putting pressure on the Ukrainian shoulder, that is pretty sure.
And now we don't have this minerals deal signed. We have this summit tomorrow in London. Without an agreement, is London's event going to be less influential? What does this mean for that summit on Sunday?
I think this summit is very interesting because, if I may, the reaction and what we witness in the White House is also very interesting for European Union, because the fact that the US can give up on Ukraine shows that they can give up on other things, and we are. I mean, at the age, and European countries had to wake up in order to realize that maybe they had to rely more on themselves in the case that the US could withdraw from NATO or ask for unacceptable conditions in order to give their support or to maintain their support. So this is something which is definitely very interesting. And that's why, and you show that President Macron said that some issues and some topics can be open to discussion, including nuclear deterrence. It's because all the European countries think that no, they had to be very realistic with what could be the future of their relation with the US.
Yeah, after that meeting at the White House, Zelensky went on Fox News. He repeated it again when he arrived in London this Saturday. He said Trump support is crucial. Do you think there's a way to sort of repair the relationship between him and the U.S. president?
I'm afraid it's going to be definitely very complicated. Maybe some of you have seen the Ukraine ambassador expression during the meeting in the Oval Room, and she looks quite desperate. The thing is, into Fox News, President Zelensky say what he said before, meaning that security guarantee are essentials. That because at no. The US are pushing for something like a ceasefire, and they want to make it show like a peace. That is not, and they are not giving any security guarantee. We have to keep in mind something. If ever we go on a ceasefire, it's a total win for Russian president and for Russia. Why? Because they can't reload and reinforce their military power. They had to keep some militaries on the front line, avoiding them to deal with military who could be quite traumatized by the war in Ukraine, and who also could have like dark stories about how they have been managed by the militaries and consequently by the Russian presidency. And they can keep a military control of the annexed territories instead of going on an administrative way. So this could be very, very, very beneficial for the Russian power if they had some times to refuel their power and their strength. They can push a little bit more far in the time to come. So this is definitely very interesting and very important, because depending of what we are going on, if we are on like a freeze conflict that we already know, on a ceasefire with no security guarantee, that could be a perfect deal for Vladimir Putin. And additionally, he had not to say that he had failed anything into for his population, because he don't have to change any of his goal of war.
Yeah, and so Vladimir Putin, sorry to cut you off there. Vladimir Putin, I'm guessing while he watched that heated exchange at the White House, probably somewhat happy that this transatlantic security alliance isn't unwavering the way the Biden administration had previously called it.
I'm pretty sure that they have been looking at everything, and maybe with not that much surprise about what have been said and about the turn of the discussion. And yeah, for them, it's a very good thing. That's a very good deal, what is happening. And one more thing that they could expect is, because of the reaction of Donald Trump, because of what he said, European Union countries have to be more relying on themselves. And we've got two options: a wake up of the European countries that they are going to reinforce their cooperation, to reinforce their collaboration, their military power and else, or putting the European countries into competition in between the European Union. And the consequence will be weakening the European Union, which is another goal, let's be clear about that, of the Kremlin. So basically, for them, that's the first step of a very good thing. And we have to be very careful on what we Europeans are going to do on the next step. Of course, US are a main ally, and we need to be close to them. But we need also to be realistic, and we need not to rely only on Washington. As said Zelensky, of course, US is a main support, and we know that. But we also have to be realistic about the turn things are having at now.
One final question. I'm just curious how much confidence you would have in a U.S. administration where during that argument, if you watch it in full, it feels like a lot of the time Zelensky devoted was trying to explain the history of Russian invasion, of the repeated attempts to sign a deal with Putin, and that perhaps J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, some of these things, the way they reacted made it seem like they weren't even aware of them.
Yeah, that's why Zelensky tried to say when he explained that in 2014 and G. Vance said 2015 and it was no 2014. So we had like things like that. And that's more or less what Ukrainian president have said on Fox News when he explained that maybe the conflict was fueled by exaggerated story claiming Ukrainian was destroyed and maybe by not that good knowledge about Ukrainian recent history and relation with Russia. I mean, there is two options. First, you really don't know, and that's not a good news. Secondly, you really doesn't want to know, and that's the worst news. Basically, Zelensky have been very diplomatic, saying that maybe it is, and he have been such more polite than G.D. Vance and Donald Trump have been with him during the meeting.
Christine, thank you so much for your time. Christine Dugoin-Clément joining us. Thank you very much.